We are back Saturday morning, Bitcoin Liberty Live episode.
Shiny cowboy.
The Shiny Cowboy, episode 74. Here's to the holders through into Uptober.
Why does everyone want to jinx Uptober? Like, you're doing it, Robin's doing it, everyone's like, it's Uptober. I'm like, you guys are just like, you're like going to the gods going, please stick a giant rubber red candle in my
Hey everybody, all-time high, everybody.
It's coming, yeah, it's inevitable.
And so yes, it's like the inverse Kramer.
Yeah, let's not inverse Kramer the candles into
I'm not
oblivion.
Superstitious, because what happens, I don't see any trend in my hopes and dreams for reality and what actually happens. It's like the algorithm of the bot that runs this place. It picks the most entertaining outcome, and so that's not what you want. But anyway, I think it's like the tide. The tide's going to come in. You can stand in there and splash around if you want, but it's going to come in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like literally superstitious, but I'm super superstitious. Yeah. Like I'm like baseball superstitious, right? Like I knock wood. I know knocking wood doesn't have any impact on anything, but psychologically I'll knock wood anyway. Doesn't matter. Like, like that's kind of how I treat it. So like when people start saying you'll never need a thing again, I just you just invoked the gods. You invoked the law. You've invoked Murphy's law. You've invoked every possible, like you're bringing bad juju into the mix.
Well, it's like Mark Twain's quote about never trust a crowd or avoid the crowd. And so whenever I see it, it's my kind of anti whatever groupthink mentality about things, my cynical thoughts. When I do see a crowd, trending in a way, I think, be wary.
Or, hey, would you ban that Kickbot?
Kickbot, Daz. Oh, who is that?
Some fucking bot piece of shit. Hi, Johnny.
I added Kick to our streaming options here because it's new, and I guess they're pretty popular in Australia. But it's new, so I don't know what Kick is.
Ban the fucking bot. Fucking piece of shit.
How do I do that? Let me look. I'm figuring this out.
Hey, Johnny. Great to see you, sir.
Yes, Johnny. Thank you.
I'm not a big fan of bots, bot runners. I obviously know there's no human being attached to whatever that little spam fucking thing was, but if there was a spam person like that was attached to it, I'd just like to say fuck you very much and go fuck yourself.
Yeah, bots go away. Twitch would do that too. Twitch would be like, hey, we're watching you and you're doing great. You want some advice?
Viewers, you want some dick pills? You want some this? You want some that? Yeah, it's all just fucking garbage, dude.
Bitcoin Liberty Live, brought to you by Altoids, the true Bitcoiners mint for the brought to you by nicotine. Bitcoin driven by nicotine.
Nicotine, caffeine, and fucking hopium, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. How are you doing today, Johnny?
Johnny is perpetually, consistently our biggest number one fan, which we desperately need. Johnny, you lift our wings. You float our sail. I was thinking of Bitcoin topics over this past week as I catch up through my fiat brain through the week as I'm busy and I listen to what I can. And then I kind of consolidate all that on a Friday night. And Jack Mallers was talking about, he was joking about the great flippening, people still talking about Ethereum and Ethereum's, really continual demise in a sense. And their flippening term, where he says, we need to reframe the concept of flippening. The flippening will be when Bitcoin supersedes U.S. treasuries. There'll be a flippening. And which, hey,
not gonna happen, dude. There's unlimited treasuries. Like, how do you flip in something that, like, yeah.
So through the stable coins, the stable coins become more and more and more of the treasury holding, and then those treasuries, Tether, are really largely backed or holding Bitcoin, and so then it's part of the great realignment, perhaps.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, dude.
You don't think so?
No. Those treasuries, like just the whole idea of like pegging a currency to Bitcoin or having that as a backing for Bitcoin or stuff like those are all very fiat ideas. And they're not necessary, I don't think. Oh, look, another one.
How do I get rid of these? I can't see how man, Kick's got their bots.
Yeah, how do
but I don't see an option for these.
just drop the ban hammer, dude? Just like you have control over. You have control over the stream, don't you?
I can. I mean, I can just drop kick.
Hey,
Yeah.
well, I got a little question. Like, are you logged in?
I'll have to log into Kick.
No, you got to log into StreamYard, dude.
I'm in StreamYard, but I don't seem to have tailored options with specific comments. I may just drop kick.
Just ban users, dude. Like,
how do I do that? Anyway, I'll work on it.
God.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're pushing the boundaries on our streaming.
Hey, look at that! The UK Bitcoin Master Channel sent out a notice to our meetup members praising your show. That's awesome, dude.
Awesome.
Huge thank you to the UK Bitcoin
awesome.
Masters.
Yeah,
check that out.
Yeah, we've got some fans in the UK. There's a really cool guy, Sam, the Sam Show. He's got his son Sam that accompanies him for a while now on his podcast, and UK's got so apparently Kick is like popular in Australia. We get a lot of interest in Bitcoin from Australia, interest in MicroSeed from Australia. At the Vegas conference, there were Australians there that were just the most based, like totally getting it guys. And it's like, wow, you came all the way from, Perth or wherever. And here you are. And I think they have reasons to be into Bitcoin. Like, I think the UK guys certainly should be, because you see governmental actions or political brainwashing continually, just the Kool-Aid dump all the time on, watch yourself, what you say, what you do, we're watching you, big brother nanny state. And so it makes smart people reflect on, what in the hell do I do as a human individual, sovereign individual?
UK is kind of a unique animal because they are the last holdout against communism in Europe right now, So the EU is fully captured basically by communists. So the UK was like the last sort of stalwart, like, no, we're going to retain individualism. The funny thing is I don't think, despite the big push and the DEI woke sort of backdoor communist takeover plot thing, I don't think it works in Western economies, dude. Like, it doesn't work with Westerners, and that's sort of a fundamental thing. Like, if you look at the places where communism took root and has stuck around and persisted, it tends to be in places where communal values are at the forefront of society, right? Like, if you go and spit on the sidewalk in like Japan, like, that's an affront against the community. It's not just, no one looks at you like, like your family should be ashamed of you kind of thing, right? That's the whole idea. If you spit on the sidewalk here, it's more about individualism, right? So and I think there's a reason why pseudo-capitalism kind of took root in the West and, pseudo-communism took root in the East. And it's because it kind of aligns with the core ideological orientation of the populace, right? Like, the religious doctrine that dominates in the East, or used to dominate in the East, was based around communal values, right? The religious doctrine that dominates in the West tends to be around individual action, individual choice, things like that. So I think the experiment is doomed to fail no matter what they do. But right now, Britain is currently being inundated with, like, outright invaded by this communist ideology, and they're trying to, they're pulling a massive lever of power just by like allowing mass migration of people that they're hoping they can control once they get behind the walls, right? So if you're a Bitcoiner in Britain, I think before you buy Bitcoin, you should probably be trying to find some American chick you can hook up with and see if you can get the hell out of there, man.
Get to America.
Yeah, you got some problems.
Yeah.
Dig your accent, man. Like it'll be kind of a no-brainer. You go find yourself a nice little fat, plump fucking Midwesterner, and
we got cowgirls out here, and
the cowgirls probably won't like these guys, but some plump Midwesterner might, and just flash a crooked smile at them, and they'll be all over you, dude.
Yeah, well, and so the Starmer is like they're levering the whole immigration quote, reframing the crisis or the concern that people have about the immigration to lever into the universal ID thing, to like what, get a grip on immigration, like give me a break, as if the doors aren't open and that Europe may be cooked that way. I mean, if you got, I want to be open-minded about culture and diversity and all that, which I am, but some of these cultures are a very unified mission, strong, less integrating.
Well, let's unpack this idea. Like, you want to be open to culture, and like, what does that mean, dude?
Because at heart, wouldn't it be nice if we could all just be socialist, and can we all just get along? And I'll stop. my heart lends itself to humanitarian interests, just in my nature. Now, that is like we were talking about it yesterday, thinking about fiat jobs, my fiat job, the role of HR, and in the state that I work in, and state laws that are passed that sort of just say, no, as a business, you shall follow laws that are socialist, but framed as just be a good person. Come on, can you just be a good person who cares about people? Who's against caring about people? Not me. I care about people, right? You care about people. Okay, you shall care about people. So we have core values that are very people caring, and then you're trying to actually run a business, and you actually need to say fire a toxic employee, or be honest. Be honest about what the problem is, and you're trying to do that with the curtails of all this being nice about it. And so at a government level, socialism feels nice, sounds nice. The kids love it. Some of these kids want straight up, just like the Marxism. Now try to start a business, and it strangles hard decisions that businesses need to function when you just can't get rid of a toxic employee or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. I'm still curious about what you meant by the whole culture thing. Like, well, I want to be like open-minded to culture and all this kind of stuff, because we're talking about the UK. What did that mean, dude?
So I don't have any real good background about it. Here's my uninformed American view on. I'm going to get myself in trouble, but just my view on how.
Dude, that's the whole point, man.
Let's get Fritz in trouble.
No, it's not. How are you going to get in trouble? Like, who's gonna admonish you, right? Like,
you can. So as soon as I have a little say here, go. Feel free to admonish me now.
I don't want to admonish you. I want to understand what you're saying.
Oh, so okay, my uninformed outsider's view on, say, UK culture. You have a king and a queen and the royalty and that feeling of respect and get along. It's a little more deferring to authority. Historically, we are good people. Our king they're good people, and so there's more deference to fiat, I might say, by decree. There's just sort of this inherent respect, and that we're fine. Stiff upper lip, keep your chin up, and Britain shall survive. And then also as good people as we are, they open their doors to people who want to come to a proud country, and they welcome people in. And America will do that too. And then you get so many of a specific culture coming in with a very strong culture, rules of their own, integration. I mean, I think kids naturally want to integrate in the culture they're in, but some cultures, I think, do that less quickly. And naturally, like in America, immigration occurs in America, and you get whole areas of town that are, say, Italian, Irish, Chinese, whatever. That's natural. Now, when that happens, so let's just say that happens in London, and you have areas of town where more and more people come, and you have a whole neighborhood that starts to, have its own leaders, vote in their own people, enforce their own rules about it or different approach to it. And the judgmental view on, say, Islam is the idea of a caliphate or the Islam state. I think there are countries in Europe that feel that concern. So is that how big of a risk is that? Is it like, well, yeah, they only have 10%, but it's a unified 10% that is growing, creeping, at this point cannot be stopped. You're cooked. Is that accurate?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the one that said it.
I don't know.
Curious what you're saying. Like you said, I want to be open-minded to, culture and multiculturalism and all that kind of stuff. I was just curious what that meant, because it was sort of like, it sort of perked up my ears. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's unpack that. But I mean, I guess, I don't know. Like, it all sort of depends on your view of things, I suppose. But if you're, when the bigger problem with all this is like, it's super easy to drift down into like racist tropes or religious tropes or all kinds of shit. The core thing is like, you want to preserve your quote unquote culture, just get rid of the fucking handouts, and then like all your waves of migrants and your waves of this and your waves of that just kind of evaporate, because the people that want to come to your country and be part of the country because they like your country are going to come there because they're seeking some sort of opportunity to build within your country. If you just have like this unlimited purse of like free shit, people just show up for the free shit, dude. So like it kind of, it, like people are saying, oh, we're being invaded, we're being this, we're being that. And it's like, no, you're just like you're giving shit away. So like, right, what do you expect? Like if I just said, hey, free microseeds for everybody, I'm going to get inundated with people. People don't know what a microseed is or care. They're just going to want free shit. They're just going to take stuff from you, So I don't know, man. But in terms of like being open to culture or whatever, it's like, there are, it depends on how you look at things. Like if you have a culture of cannibals, you want to go, let's be open to cultural influence. Like if people eat other people, that's probably not healthy, right? So let's not encourage culturalism, just for the sake of it. But I don't know, man. Like England has been standing proud for over 1,000 years, So the idea that a bunch of like unwashed migrants from wherever the fuck can come in and illegally occupy your country, then there's a simple fix for it. Just throw them the fuck out. Like it's not hard to figure out, but
right.
But then like you have to overcome like all the nonsense in order to do it. You want to just really fix the problem overnight, just get rid of all your fucking handouts, including native people handouts. And then a lot of these problems fix themselves, but that's politically unpalatable. So people just like allow themselves to be wrangled and roped into like these political discussions, but they don't really want a solution. So they just like being upset and pissed off, best I can tell.
Yeah. And, younger folks, they might lead with their heart or their ideas for a fantasy world without knowing how, running things, a business or a country might really work, how economy works, that money just comes from wherever. And so it's easy and natural for, like, I can see it in youth wanting to be open and accepting and tolerant and just allow for it all, and it'll work itself out. And so like at my heart, like I get it. That's not to say that, like, I imagine, like, so when I look at Portland, keep Portland weird, keep Albuquerque quirky. Those ideas of like, hey, we're tolerant, we're cool, people can do their thing. If that works for them, we're not going to judge people for lifestyles or whatever. But if they're, stealing from stores, are we still prosecuting the law? If it's costing a bunch of money to maintain in a welfare state and we can't afford it, Do we keep paying for that? I think that's where some people are like, somewhere in this fantastical world, there's just money out there that if there's, if there's someone in need, there's just money for that. When the economy is unsustainable, it's hard to let go of because it just feels mean. And so socialism can work those cracks. And I feel like socialism can work because it makes people feel good about what we're trying to do, even if it just doesn't function economically.
Well, neither does capitalism, though. So, I mean, it's all bullshit. If it's fucking turtles all the way down, right? Like, you can go, oh, well, communism does this, and it's some utopian thing, and they go, yeah, but that's kind of a bullshit narrative, right? And socialism, preys on the this and that, but it's kind of a bullshit narrative, and it's not sustainable. And you go, well, capitalism is the thing that works. And you go, well, no, it's not. It's the same bullshit narrative. It's just a more productive narrative, But at the end of the day, it eats itself. It has to, because the point of the whole thing is for people to take stuff, like people in power to take things, whether it's communism, socialism, capitalism, fucking a religious caliphate, or, the Church of England or the Catholic Church. It doesn't matter who's trying to take. They're all trying to take. They're all trying to control. So the ultimate end game of that is someone else comes in and tries to take control over the thing these people are controlling, right? And that's the endless game of competitive resource capture. But some idea that like this works and that doesn't, and this and that, I go, on what time horizon, right? Because for the last 50 years, capitalism, quote unquote, and that's a great big fat quote unquote, people say, oh yeah, well, capitalism works and does this and did that. And I go, well, kind of, but in this very limited rule set that they've kind of imposed on the world about like how trade happens and things like that. But it's collapsing right before our eyes. And when it comes to like people going, oh, there's just an unlimited pile of money, it's like, can you blame them? Like you go, hey, are we prosecuting the law? Like someone went and shoplifted from a store. Are we enforcing the law? And I go, well, I don't know. In 2008, the bankers shoplifted from the entire globe to the tune of $2 trillion. Did we prosecute the law? And you go, well, then what are we talking about, right? Like we go, well, I don't like that petty crime is not being punished. Okay, well, right now we've punished all kinds of things. Like our prisons were overflowing for years and years and years because we're prosecuting people for made up drug offenses and throwing the book at them and calling them, like worse than terrorists because they were, selling pot to people in high school. But yet, they keep bailing out bankers. They keep bailing out industry. They keep bailing out. Like there's unlimited pots of money for people in control. But as soon as like someone suggests, hey, there should be an unlimited pot of money for people that aren't in control, then all of a sudden it's a problem in the capitalist circles. Mm-hmm. So let's see, what's Johnny say here? The left tries to guilt us into accepting all types of bad influences. If you've come here to assimilate and build, cool, but if you come to change us through coercion, fuck off. Yeah, fair enough. I would say they would not try and change anything if you weren't giving them a handout. Not you personally, obviously, Johnny, but like us in general. Like if you didn't get free healthcare, if you didn't sneak across the border and get, make a baby and then get citizenship, and if you didn't sneak across the border and get, free healthcare, free housing, free this, free that, like they do all throughout Europe, you get all kinds of neat perks just by showing up and sticking around for long enough. So you take that away and then there's no, like who's going to come? You go, hey, it's a real pain in the ass to be here and I don't speak the language. I'd rather have a pain in the ass where I came from, or at least I know everybody and I speak the language. And my very telling viewpoint on this is born a lot from what happened after the Berlin Wall fell. Like all the East Germans flooded into West Germany and they went, wow, look at all the neat stuff. And then they said, oh, but where are the jobs for us? And they go, we don't want to hire you. Like they didn't have a very easy time of it. And so very shortly after, most of them just went back to East Germany, right? Because at least it's familiar. It's their neighborhood, So if you got all these migrants flooding across for work and whatnot, I go, well, fine. But, to say those people don't get exploited, I go, it would be short-sighted, Yeah. But people don't care. They don't give a shit as long as they get cheap vegetables. Like this whole thing with like illegal truck drivers, right? Like people go, yeah, this is so terrible. Look, this lady got squished between two trucks because some fucking migrant wearing flip-flops was driving his fucking tractor trailer on 2 hours of sleep and wasn't paying attention and driving like a lunatic. And then, he pancaked somebody. Everyone goes, oh, these illegal drivers. And I go, well, yeah, but you want to pay American drivers to do American work, with American regulations and follow all the rules. Your prices go up by 30%. That cheap foreign drivers, those cheap foreign labor, and the CEO doesn't care. He goes, well, whatever. I can save a lot of money this year by just hiring a bunch of fucking migrants with fake fucking CDLs that they got from some ding dong truck driving school in Mexico or something like that.
Yeah, California. Yeah.
California, Oregon, sheriff out there used to talk about it all the time, all these fucking foreign drivers out there. So they're an absolute menace, but people will bitch about it until they have to pay for it, right? So it's just like it's all fantasy thinking, right? Whether it's the people in the country going, hey, well, you got to do this and this and this. I go, well, you got to pay for that, right? And they go, well, I don't want to pay for it. I want to have all the perks of all the shit that I've gotten used to without having to actually pay me the cost of that stuff. So these things are power grabs across the board. They're always power grabs. If you got a wave of illegal migrants coming in, it's because someone's trying to grab power. If you got a wave of people getting thrown back out of the country, it's because someone's trying to grab power, retain power, but the idea that it's here to help the farm animals is, I think, narrow-minded.
Yeah, it does boil down to the resource capture game. And even like locally recently, over the past, years, but particularly this past summer, there was just a slew of these guys from California or wherever, but recent immigrants had their CDL and are driving up the highway that goes up through Oregon and caught locally in a tiny little rural county, wrecking and making messes or hurting people. And there were a bunch of them. And not just in our little county, but others and around the state. But it was like winnowing in on a truck driving school or a few of these that were just kind of like, you got money and can you drive around these cones? Okay, here's your CDL. Yeah. And we'll sign off on all these hours and training, and there off you go with your semi rig and how many hours of actual driving and at what training. And then go
ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And then there's problems on the road, and it's sort of like a natural outcome of companies who don't care who they're hiring and they've got insurance. Stuff would happen. The driver has no money. The company's got insurance. I was talking to the DA about like looking at the restitution involved, and it's like, no one's going to pay that. Is the victim going to get that? And it always boils down to like, well, insurance somewhere. And then it's that the economics of it is, do the economics add up to allow companies to keep practicing that way, and insurance companies that will cover them in that way? And then if the victim or the outcome is paid out one way or another, it could continue.
Even beyond the domestic CDLs where they actually went to a school and like theoretically at least had a pamphlet put in front of them about what they're supposed to be doing, a lot of these CDLs are just straight up foreign drivers. Like they show up with a Mexican CDL and then they get a waiver to drive. So there's this treatment of like, hey, you get to drive here. You don't even have to go to a U.S. school. You don't even have to have a U.S. license. We'll just give you this reciprocity to drive here. And then that guy, gets hired on to drive at a tenth of the cost of what a U.S. truck driver would drive. And, he's not obviously going to join the Teamsters or anything like that. So, they save a truck ton of money on this stuff. But that all traces back to the fiat requirements of things. Like, someone posted a chart that said, hey, over the last X number of years, Bitcoin's gone up like 50,000%, NVIDIA's gone up 36,000%, Tesla's gone up 3,000%. The money supply has gone up 36%. You go, okay, well, let's ignore the fucking noise of 50,000 and 30,000% and whatever, and let's focus on the 36% increase in the money supply. And you go, well, how does a company stay in business if they have to improve by 36% over whatever time frame that was? You go, you can't. It's impossible. Like you can't continually get 36% stronger year over year over year. Like you're going to run into a functional barrier. Like doesn't matter how many weights you lift, doesn't matter how much testosterone you take. Like there's going to be some limit where you just go, we can't get any bigger than this. I can't get any stronger than this. And a company can't just continually make more and more profit every year because that's not possible. It's impossible to do that. So they have to resort to shenanigans to make that work. And it's either you reduce quality, you reduce service, or you reduce labor costs. Like that's all you can do. And so if you squeeze your trucking business all the way down to it's like you delay maintenance by 6 months instead of a 6-month maintenance cycle, you do a 1-year maintenance cycle. If you do, all of this kind of stuff, you continually have to degrade the quality of your business. But you'll get to a point where you go, the only thing left we can do is cut down on the amount we spend on labor. And right now, an American truck driver won't drive for what will keep us in business. So, hey, but there's, like Johnny said, here's 8 different countries that'll come in and drive for us and gladly take that rate. I mean, they might squish a few people, but hey, like you said, Fritz, we got insurance, so who cares? Fuck them, Like, so what? We smash some family on the freeway, like, as long as most of our goods get there, like it's breakage for them, and
right.
And yeah, I mean, but that's always been the way. Like you can go back to the Ford thing and the Pintos exploding, and they just went, well, chances are good only X number of people are going to explode and die in a Pinto, and that's going to be less than it would cost to recall the Pinto. So let's just go with explode and die, right?
Yeah, it's like the point at which they would issue a recall is when the cost of a recall is less than the potential liabilities from lawsuits. It's not like, oh, we found this thing, let's go fix it. It's
right.
like, what does this all cost? Is it worth a recall?
Right.
Whether it blows up or just would be cosmetic.
Correct. But that's what I've been kind of getting at, all along, and especially with the stuff I talk about in my book. Like, you're a farm animal, dude. Like, you're a farm animal. I'm a farm animal. They don't give a shit. The people that are trying to capture resources don't care about you, your rights, your dignity, your, anything. They just don't give a shit about you any more than the farmer gives a shit about his chicken. I mean, he cares about the chicken because that's how he makes his living. But if, a fourth of the chickens get sick with something, they got to just go slaughter all those birds and put them in an incinerator. They do it. They don't they don't go like, oh, but think about the chicken's rights. And this is an individual chicken and we need to uphold this chicken's right to life. And they just go, no, just throw them in the fucking burner. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter. So that's the status of being a citizen. That's the status of being a consumer. That's the status of being in a fiat system. You're a farm animal, and until you capture and control significant resources where you're no longer considered a farmed resource, then you will continue to be treated as a resource. So, people that rally behind these little banners and things like that. But this traces back to what we were talking about, I think, offline, of like, is Bitcoin money or is it Bitcoin property or is it this or that? I go, money is a tool of the state. It's not, there is no such thing as sound money. Sound money is the one that is most efficiently extracts resources from you. So when people go, oh, this is a monetary network, or we need Bitcoin is money and Bitcoin is the best money. I go, you're saying like, hey, I want the best tool for the state to take things from me. And I think Bitcoin's that thing. I go, it's a cognitive dissonance in my head. But property is what rules the sovereign. Property is what rules a competitive resource capture game. Yeah, I'm just a chicken looking for a better coop myself, man, but.
So on an animal farm, you can see the chickens, who are, paying attention it's hard to ignore. You can see where feelings of socialism or Marxism feed the pro-human feelings that, like, we want to take care of people and that corrupt entities should be the ones that pay for it. And what was the big, so during the 2008 crisis, and there was the big 1% revolt. I'm trying to remember the name of that.
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. So yeah, that was pretty huge, pretty big, banging on pots and pans, having speeches, coming up with new ideas and new rules and new ways and speech in all the push and fight. And then the system can just do what they did, the bailouts, whatever else, wait them out. Eventually these people need to go get a job or go back to their families, and it fades away, and then life continues, the system continues. And did anything change other than some people's awareness? Maybe not anything really changed.
Nothing changed at all. Nothing. Like it's literally the equivalent of like if you had a bunch of chickens like all go into the corner and start making a lot of noise and flapping their wings. You go, okay, well, go nuts, squawk, 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 flap, 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 squawk, 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 flap, flap, flap. Sooner or later, the farmer either sicks his dog on the fucking chickens, and the chickens go ooh, and they disperse, which is what happened with Occupy Wall Street, or the farmer just sits there and puts some earplugs in and goes, whatever, I'm still getting my meat and eggs. I don't care how loud the chickens are squawking in the yard. They're just, it's just part of all the rest of the noise of the chicken coop,
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, man. Like,
so we vote harder, we elect better people, they come in, and the game continues.
Correct. Well, I mean, the game is competitive resource capture. It's not rights. It's not communism. It's not capitalism. It's not socialism. Like you've pointed out a couple times, like, well, socialism and communism appeal to human things, and I go, well, so does capitalism. It's all the same hustle. Dude. Like capitalism has its own little mythologies and all this kind of stuff, but it's all like it fundamentally drives fiction, and we are all beneficiaries of that fiction. Like we can sit here in the United States and go, our economy is 70% driven by consumer spending. We spend 20% more than we produce. And we think somehow that we are like the kings of the world and we're the best this and that, and America's number one and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, well, but when they peek behind the curtain and they see what really drives that, and you go, well, it's a big fleet of aircraft carriers and a huge fleet of nukes and 160 military bases around the world, and it's blood that keeps us afloat.
Proof of war.
Yeah. It's proof of war and our ability to print money, like unlimited money, and export it. And so, like when people are talking about stable coins and it's gonna flip gold and this and that and the other thing, it's like I think it's a magnificent mechanism for continuing to export our inflation and impoverish others at our expense, and so that's kind of that's capitalism. That's the miracle of capitalism is like the ability to debase the world because you hold the reserve currency, and then our allies get to participate in it because they're adjacent to us, right? So
yeah,
to say it's like the things that appeal to people about communism and socialism are not invalid. They just don't realize that they're no less relevant than the capitalism they think they're trying to fix or replace or move, right? So
yeah, and to say we have capitalism, you've heard of Triffin's dilemma, where if you're the country with the world, if you got the world reserve currency and there's incentives to export your currency and have imports, and you start to supplant your own industry with external industry, and you're importing most of the stuff while you export your currency, your internal economy at Main Street in small businesses, base businesses, suffer because it's just all cheaper abroad. All the regulations, all the source of work, everything about the differential in economy does not benefit a U.S. company doing it themselves at the expense that it takes internally. And so like everything gets exported. And so the country that's like sitting on the castle with the currency internally starts to erode, not just business, but culturally, the incentives and everything about it. So like America suffers from an erosion in incentives, and it trickles down. That's where Bitcoin can fix this. So I think of Americans that get on the Bitcoin path can start to feel that escape valve, escape hatch, that solution with the great realignment. Hopefully, that can percolate into that system and realign that over time as well.
Well, theoretically, I mean, I hope so. Like the thing is, we get a lot of material comfort from being at the top of that thing, right? And I think what we've got now is 50 years. Like we've got an entire generation, our generation in particular, that grew up in nothing but material comfort, right? So, if the goal is to get people away from accepting like I can just get whatever I want whenever I want just for throwing some paper around, I think it's kind of a tough road, right? Like I don't think people are really quite ready yet to understand what that means. The problem they're kind of running into right now is like the idea of a competitive resource capture game is predicated partly on you must control resources, land, gold, oil, diamonds, whatever it is, right? food. But people are also that resource. And the primary benefit of having a resource under your control is the labor or ideas that they provide. But if those labor and ideas aren't worth anything, then you kind of go, well, what's the point of controlling that resource, right? Like they don't provide anything for me as a ruler anymore. So what becomes of that population? I mean, this game is like a snake eating its own tail, right? Because the same thing that the libertarians mess up is the same thing the communists mess up. Is they go, well, labor, 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 and I go, well, what happens when there's no need for labor, or there's a much reduced need for labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you look at a hunter-gatherer society, you are your own labor. You go, if you want to eat, go pick some berries, right? If you want to shoes, go make some shoes. Like there's no like division of labor, this, that, and the other thing. Maybe someone will help you make some shoes or whatever it is, but the point is being like an animal. Like you don't see wolves go around and divide their labor. Like they all group up, they kill something, they all kind of share in the spoils, and that's it, right? But that's what humans have been doing for 12,000 or 25,000 or 100,000 years. And over the last 12,000, they figure out how to plant stuff in the ground and grow it. So maybe it was giants from the ocean that came and taught us how to do that and build pyramids and whatever. I don't know, but
Nibiru.
Yeah, Nibiru.
They
I don't
came
know.
down and
and taught us the ways of agriculture. But maybe they were the conquerors to begin with. They were the original conquerors. I don't
know. Stepping another layer out from that, thinking, and I always look at the next meta level on some of these things I enjoy. There was a podcast a week ago on what Bitcoin did with a vice president at Swan, actually, Brandon Quittem.
Oh yeah.
And he's a smart guy, and I like all of his Bitcoin stuff. He was talking about and has written about the fourth turning. And where is my thingamajiggy here? Oh, here we go. Is this it? Oh, sorry. No, that's not it. I got to bring up.
Oh my God, you're showing behind
the scenes. Technical difficulties here. I got to figure out my. Here we go. The fourth turning. He had a graph that is the cycle.
Oh yeah, I saw
the supply and demand of order. And it kind of, so people can get their minds around the turnings and how we're in the fourth turning or entering the fourth turning or maybe entering the first turning. And it made, and so you can kind of criticize maybe details about that. It's very American centric thinking in terms of about every 80 years, there's a fourth turning into a first turning. And that coincides with like the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War II. And now it's been 80 years and we are at a increasingly high demand for order with a very low supply of order. And so we're kind of in this gap of this crisis on the right there. Stepping back through it. So like in a first turning, so just to keep it simple, coming out of World War II, culturally and coming out of war, it's like people's demand for order and the supply provided by government and culture of order they were both very high. And then with generations, people coming of age every 20 to 25 years, they're just ready for, bucking the system, bucking their parents, striking out on their own, doing their own thing, into change and progress and something else. And so generations need for change or different in opinion about order changes very quickly, whereas the system's supply of order shifts differently. And so like with the boomers, they shifted hard through the 60s and had this kind of their own awakening moment of, freedom, sex, drugs, and rock and roll and all the things. And so they were bucking all the order and creating their new sense of what they wanted. Whereas the supply was still very high. Now that dropped and dropped. Now down in the third turning where the Gen Xers are, like you and me, if we're rolling with this this metaphor here, and this kind of aligns with my experience. It's like there was a lot of sense of freedom, capitalism, Ronald Reagan, like order was dropping, and there was this freedom, like go out and do things. And also it aligned with our feeling about that too. Like we're free. The wall came down. We're just doing things. And it was like the good times. And then societies and things start to fall apart and break down, and they jump the shark on wokeism or whatever else. And now we're starting to see more and more people like, we're done. We're done. We want more order. Something needs to be changed. Something's wrong. Now, I would say it starts and ends with people's concept of money or what Bitcoin does. But demand for order is high, and yet the supply is really chaotic and low. And that's where that shortening that gap again from the fourth to the first, there's no transition there other than usually what is a large shock. And historically in America, if you call this model accurate, every 80 years, it is a war. What are your thoughts on this graph?
I think there's a lot of patternicity to the turnings in general, but I mean, I can see it if you take like a narrow range of things, and if you're not real careful about where you start and end each turning, quote unquote, then you can make it fit that sort of thesis. But
Sure.
You know, in terms of like, if you put any stock in it, I go, well, you know, who's to decide when the turning began and ended? They go, well, there happened to be a war then. Okay, well, we've had 4 wars, so which one of them was the one? Oh, it has to be the right kind of war to really be the turning point. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. So the 12-year quagmire where we blew up $4 trillion in Afghanistan, that wasn't the turning. No, because it didn't meet all the criteria of the other wars. Well, then how did the American Revolutionary War factor into that? Because it didn't affect the rest of the world. What about this? What about that? So it's kind of patternistic, and it also excludes like the entirety of China. Like China is a continuous 5,000 year culture that has the same language, the same written word, and the same general cultural dynamics for 5,000 years. You go, well, England has been around for 1,000 years. That is the pinnacle of Western civilization. I go, well, there's a country in the East that's 5x that, and like where do they fit into the turning protocol? And so if you try to apply these turnings to China, you go, well, how does that work? Because the Cultural Revolution, like you can assign these kind of values to all kinds of shit. So
yeah,
I mean, from an American viewpoint, with an American ideology, an American sense of values, and American starting assumptions, you can go, yeah, maybe this kind of fits a pattern, so and so. But so does like all the lines that people draw on trading charts. They go, look, this fits this pattern. If you do this forward projection, you draw this line here, and if you put this line this way instead of this way, you get this result. And I mean, it's a neat thing to think about. It's a neat thing to discuss in terms of like predictive capability or predictive power. I go, well, it's kind of pointless. You know, like the future is what the future is going to be, and it's going to be decided by like, you know, very relatively minor decisions along the road are going to have outsized impact on what the future holds for everybody involved, right? So, you know, in terms of like whether or not there's a supply of order or demand for order, like chaos always demands order. Like, I mean, I wrote that in the book. I go, people that acquire power in all chaotic systems are people that can bring order to that chaos. The reason the Taliban rose to power in Afghanistan after the Russian invasion and the subsequent Russian withdrawal was because there was a vacuum of power, which meant that everything was chaos. It was just warlords, and it was quite literally gangs of people going around robbing and raping and doing whatever the hell they wanted within their sphere of influence. And so the Taliban came together, and they were able to enforce some measure of order on a very, very, very chaotic situation that's very, very, very hard to govern because of the geographic distribution, because of the familial ties of the people that run these gangs and things like that. So that's why they're in power, and that's why they are still in power, despite, you know, 2 of the global superpowers coming in trying to disrupt their power structure. They're still there. You know, they haven't left. So you go, well, what are the turnings in Afghanistan? Like where are they in the turnings thing? You go, oh, it's only Americans have turnings, right? Only Americans have a first turning and a fourth turning. Okay, well, and then they try and backward date it to Rome or whatever. But do you see where I'm going with all this? Like,
yeah,
it's a very it's like a American centric sort of viewpoint on the world. But
yeah, Brandon makes a point in the podcast that he for the first time in maybe since World War II, but that we our fourth turning into a first turning, it's fairly international right now. Where Europe is grappling with a lot, UK is grappling with a lot, Australia, and that there's a lot of internationally, a lot of lack of order, lots of chaos, and an increasing demand for order, and that it's occurring internationally in a lot of ways. Currently, it's not just in America. But then again, yeah, it's sort of like making a model fit retroactively.
Well, I mean, you say there's a demand for order, and I go, okay, well, who's demanding order? Like, which groups are demanding order right now? The Western nations, English-speaking nations, because you could say, like, hey, the entirety of the Middle East is demanding order, and they're rising up behind a caliphate. You go, well, is that a demand for order? Yeah, like ISIS was a demand for order, So you go, well, is that what we're talking about when we're talking about a low supply or low demand for order and high supply, or vice versa? You go, well, was ISIS that? Go, well, no, we're not talking about ISIS because they're terrorists. We're talking about like Americans and people in the street being angry. Well, that's like the problem with all of this politics. Like, I think Johnny kind of summed it up right here. Like, we are all being led through the elite societal algorithms. I go, that's probably closer to the truth than just about anything. Like, you go, hey, Australia's got a demand for order. Go, well, you mean like Wall Street demanded order, like Occupy Wall Street did? Like, what does that demand look like? Because if the demand doesn't involve like taking control of resources, it doesn't matter. If you are a chicken in the chicken farmer's coop, hen house, farm, whatever, and a bunch of chickens are sitting in the corner going, we demand, like, they all hold up little chicken signs and go, we demand more free time from our cage, and we demand to produce fewer eggs, and blah, blah, blah. Like, does the farmer go like, oh my God, these guys have a demand for order right now? You go, no. If the chickens all just like en masse attack the farmer and just scratch the shit out of him and peck his eyeballs out, you go, that was a demand for order. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is another farmer is going to come along and take control of that coop. That's the only thing that's going to change. It doesn't mean that a chicken gets to rise up and then run the coop, because as someone, I think Johnny pointed out earlier from the book, Animal Farm, some animals are more equal than others. And the second that a chicken can rise up and take control of the coop, they become a farmer. They're not a chicken anymore.
Yep.
So once they become a farmer, they have to do farmer things, right? And farmer things mean, like, when the chickens are bitching about they don't have enough bread, they go, well, they have to figure out how to navigate controlling that resource. So when Johnny said that, I think that it's kind of a neat way to sum it up. It's like the elites, the leaders, the people that control resources, however you want to frame them, are people that are trying to manage you as a resource. They go, what's the most effective way to manage you as a resource? What's the most effective way to extract resources from you? What's the most effective way to prevent you from letting some other farmer knock me off of my pedestal? That's all they care about. Like, the rest of it is noise. It's all just noise, but it's noise that all the farmers are encouraging all around the world. Like, you go, oh, there's a demand for order in Australia. Well, the people on the left say the demand for order is to get rid of all these right-wing lunatics. Is that the demand for order that you're talking about, or are you talking about the demand for order that you like? But the point is there's people on both sides of that fence that are pulling those levers, trying to gain control over the resource in that country or in that region or in that state or in that city. And whoever can pull those levers most effectively and then wield state power and state authority over violence, then they're going to be the new farmer. And you're still going to be the same resource. It doesn't matter what you thought or what you cared about or what you were demanding or any of this kind of stuff. Because even if you all rise up, there's going to be a leader of your rising. And when that leader comes to power, he has to farm you just like the last guy did. There's no way around it. You cannot escape the idea that if someone is in charge, if someone is in control, their job is to extract resources from you. That's the only thing they can do, because that's the only object of the game. There is no other object. So to go, oh, this leader is going to fix this and bring order. If he brings order to your world, it's going to be at the expense of someone else in your world or around your orbit. And sooner or later, your sense of stability is going to erode and then evaporate. And then you're going to be seeking a new farmer to come in and bring that order back. But that's all the game of competitive resource capture can do, is try and provide some measure of stability so they can extract resources from you for as long as they possibly can, until that breaks down. And then someone else comes along to promise to do the same thing the last guy did. And then he'll bring some order to it. And you may or may not like the way that order looks, but it's going to bring some order to the chaos. And then they're going to extract resources from whatever they took control of until they lose power, and then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So, so to put it in the terms of the turnings and the demand for order, there's always a demand for order. There's always a low supply of order. There's never a time when it's like high and low. That's a myth, dude. That's not possible in the game of competitive resource capture, right? Like that we've had some measure of stability for the last 40 or 50 years or 60 years is not indicative of the history of the game of competitive resource capture for 12,000. That's a fart in the wind. And it's a fart that came about because of very, very, very unique circumstances, and primarily nuclear weapons and the ability of the United States to issue the global reserve currency. So that's where the global stability, quote unquote, came from. And that is running its course. It's running out right now. And so the next paradigm that brings stability to the system, I hope, is going to be Bitcoin, but there's no guarantee of that. I think it's possible, but we'll see.
Exactly. And Johnny prompts me on this, but I was just going to say, so now we have a new rule in the farm game. We have a new technology akin to the invention of fire, the invention of the wheel, the creation of the internet. We now have Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes a fundamental rule in the farm game. And so now a lowly little chicken can start creating a little free range farm of their own, free of their own farmer.
They can control property, dude. You know what I mean?
Property. They can have their own slice of actual property, and no other big farmer or the latest shiller can steal a chicken's little micro farm from that little chicken anymore. So the chickens, you could say there's a hole in the fence. Now, are chickens still going to come back to the pen and check in and be part of that culture and the legacy system? Yes. But there's a hole in the fence that you have access to now, and you can own your slice of true farm property.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of neat thing about it, right? Is like the name of the game is competitive resource capture. I need to capture and control valuable resources. That's how I gain power in the game of competitive resource capture, right? There is no other way. There is no other game to play, and there are no rules to the game. However you can do it is valid. Right now, you, Fritz, if you decided I'm going to start a bank robber gang and I'm going to go around and rob every bank in America, and you start doing it, and then the cops show up and go, hey, you're not allowed to do that. We're here to arrest you. And then you and 5,000 of your friends go, hey, good luck. There's 143 of you guys on patrol right now. There's 5,000 of us. What are you going to do? And they go, I don't know. Like right now, we're just going to watch you rob this bank.
It's like the cartels in Mexico kind of thing. It's like,
because it's a valid way to capture resources. If they go, okay, well, we're going to bring the military, and you go, okay, well, I've got a nuclear bomb planted under the city of New York. If you guys interfere with our bank robbery today, we're going to blow up the city of New York. And they go, whoa, hey, let's not go blow up the entire city of New York. And you go, yeah, and you better get out of here. Mm-hmm. Guess what you just did? You've established. I mean, there's a reason why North Korea is still there. And it's not because they're doing something remarkable. They figured out early on and went, oh, we need a nuke. Like if we want to keep extracting resources from these people, we need a nuke, or someone's going to come in here and steamroller us and make us into United States 2, just like they did with South Korea. So they got a nuke, and guess what? Who gets to?
Thank you, China.
Well, they just get to sit there and do whatever they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they have deterrence. They have the ability to wield violence on a level that is nation state level. So the same thing happens to you. If you can figure out how to wield enough violence that you can prevent the state from interfering with you, then you have just now become a resource capturing entity in the great game of competitive resource capture. So when you're talking about Bitcoin, you go, well, how do you get Bitcoin? Well, you have to trade for it, or you have to connive, steal, like you have to either commit fraud or you have to trade fairly. That's the only ways to get it, right? So if all these resource capturing people are now focused on the most valuable resource to capture, the new prize is Bitcoin. What does that do to, like, you can't use violence to get it. And that's the fundamental difference. So like the chicken on the farm that has property, the farmer can still come and take the chicken, right? But if the property is more valuable than you and the farmer wants the property, it does not behoove them to use violence against you, because it's more efficient for them to either try and trick you, scam you, or convince you to give up your property than it is for them to try and potentially lose more of the property and make the property more valuable for everyone else around them, because they've destroyed you and their ability to get to the property. They've destroyed the ability of everyone to get to your property because they can't take it from you. So that's a big shift in tactics. That's a big shift in all kinds of things. So if you have enough Bitcoin that it's worth more than you are as a resource, then you are in a very, very powerful position, right? Because it makes it far less likely that the state wants to destroy you. And it makes it far more likely that they want to negotiate with you so they can extract more of the super valuable resource that you're holding on to. So in terms of like whether or not it gives you like access to wealth and power and this and that and the other thing on a limited basis, yeah, but there's still the game of competitive resource capture going on around you. But it makes it far less likely for the state to interfere with you because you have slowly become a sovereign property owner, just like they are. So on some micro level, it's the equivalent of having a nuke in your back pocket. You go, well, I've got this property, you can't take it. Come and mess with it. Just like if you had 5,000 bank robbers taking over all the banks in Los Angeles today or Portland today or whatever, and 143 cops are responding trying to stop you from doing it, they can't do it, right? Because they don't have enough power to take it from you. They don't have enough power to take your resource capture from you or your mechanism for resource capture. So if you already have the resource in your possession that they can't take, then that puts you on a different playing field. That means they have to negotiate with you just like anyone else that has property, like any other sovereign on planet Earth. So the neat thing about it is there's enough Bitcoin to make everybody on some level sovereign property owners. And that changes the entirety of how resource capture goes, because if the most valuable resource ever is held by hundreds of millions of people, that's a different game than the most valuable resources are held by 163 people, which are the number of countries that are right now, or 200 countries or whatever. You get where I'm going with that?
Yeah. No, good thread. And you're able to participate in the game at their level.
Correct.
And
yeah.
you're no longer a resource, you are a player. And the winning move is to play in the game of Bitcoin. So exactly. It changes the whole game. And I am seeing Bitcoiners now being farmed themselves, and Bitcoin companies farming other Bitcoiners.
Spot on.
When people say Bitcoin fixes this, at an end game thing, you can imagine, okay, Bitcoin ends war, Bitcoin ends the tyranny. That's kind of like the idea, but it'll, like, as it happens slowly, the incentives just realign. And so you see, it's like, okay, so run a node, take self-custody, ignore the rehypothecation. Hey, lock up your sats and we'll give you loans. Give us your Bitcoin, we'll give you yield. All that Bitcoin farming, it's like, we're pro Bitcoin. We're Bitcoiners like you, and we can hustle even better for you. Why don't you lever? Why don't you ever You ever feel impatient about Bitcoin? You want number go up. You need more fiat cash, right? Lock up your Bitcoin, lever your Bitcoin, give us your Bitcoin. We're good for it.
Yeah.
Like Sabo. Yeah. Sabo just posted again, like today or yesterday, and he's repeated it before. Trusted third parties are a security risk. But you're divesting yourself of your
power
property. Yeah, your power.
Yeah, you're giving away all of your power. Power comes from controlling resources. If people can take nothing else away from what I'm trying to say in my books, or what I try to say on these podcasts, or what I try to say anybody, it's like the ability to control and exclude others from valuable property is the source of all power in the world. Period. Full stop. So if you give that power to someone else for convenience or for yield or for any other reason, you are giving away power. You are literally saying, I choose to be powerless so I can have the farmer give me comfort. And I go, that's not a great way to be sovereign. That's not a great way to realign this game. But that said, like the reason why Bitcoin conveys these properties is because it's decentralized. And it's not very well decentralized right now. There's only 20,000 nodes. So if you want to maintain your ability as a pleb, as just a chicken on the farm, if you want to maintain your ability to retain, capture, and control power, meaningful power, your ability to control property, you need to help ensure that the network stays decentralized, permissionless, and secure. So the only way you can do that is by running a node and convincing other people to do the same thing. If we get to 1 million nodes, then everybody that owns Bitcoin in self-custody gets to be a powerful person in the future, regardless of what money means or what resources you can get by spending fiat money and all this kind of shit. All the nonsense around it, the name of the game is competitive resource capture. Those who capture, control, and can exclude others from valuable property are players in the game. Everyone else is a resource in the game. Bitcoin gives you and me and Fritz and everybody watching us and everybody that's ever even thought about Bitcoin the ability to own, control, and exclude others from one of the most valuable sources of property ever invented by mankind. So please don't give that away. And then please defend your ability to do that. Please, please, please run a node, because that is the thing that is going to separate us from continuing to be farm animals or from us becoming players in the game of competitive resource capture. Even if it's a minor role, it's better to have a minor role in the play than to be sitting in the audience. You know what I'm saying? Buy Bitcoin, self-custody it, and run a node, and then convince people, especially in the global South, South America, Africa, if you can get 150,000 nodes spun up down there, then this game, it's game on, dude. We win 100%.
Yeah.
If we just continue to let this rot and continue to divide ourselves about fucking relay policy that doesn't have anything to do with anything, and most people didn't even know it existed 6 months ago, that is antithetical to what the game that we are all should be trying to play, which is, hey, I want to control and capture, control, and exclude others from my most valuable resource, Bitcoin. Super easy to do. You buy yourself a cold card, you buy some Bitcoin on an exchange, transfer it over there, do your KYC, do whatever the fuck you want. Doesn't matter. Transfer it, lock it up, and hide it. And then good luck, because if they want to come and take it, we know you have Bitcoin. The burden is on them to prove that you have it, not that you don't, right? So, and that's a mighty high barrier. People grossly underestimate how hard it is to prove that someone did something or that they still have control over something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially something that's pseudo-anonymous and can go anywhere. You go, that's not my address. Prove that's my address. I can't. Right. So GFI, my property, not yours. Make sense?
Yeah. And ultimately on your terms, you have self-custody. No one can take it from you. Run a node, take self-custody. Hey, if you can contribute hash for fun too. That'd be great to get some distributed hash as well. But it's all good. Wow. We covered a lot of what I was thinking about. There were some other miscellaneous little Bitcoin happenings and stuff. I was thinking of something that came up on Robinhood. It was like, you can deposit 100,000 a week, you can withdraw 1,000 a week.
Right.
So get off exchange. And if you're on exchange, good luck getting off as quickly as you can, because they can say, "Oh no, you can take self-custody, eventually."
A little bit at a time. Yeah. And if you start taking too much self-custody, we might throttle that further. So yeah. I mean, yeah, run a node, take self-custody, run a node.
Yep.
That's it. That's the whole game. You can win the game of competitive resource capture by taking self-custody, running a node, and convincing others to do the same. Like, it's a game changer.
Yep.
But it's not free.
No, it takes largely your time and ability to think. Becoming sovereign.
Yeah.
All right.
Johnny, it's always great to see you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, Johnny. Appreciate you always. Every week we'll do this on schedule. We're doing pretty good on that. And then we'll have. I was hoping Travis could join us. Yeah, we are the inspiring bros in this space, doing what we can. All right, we'll wrap it up. Good chatting. Good to see you, and we'll do it again next week.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Bye, everybody.